Hello everyone, and welcome to my show. Considering this is my first video, I should probably start with some background. About 6 years ago, I went through a pretty nasty divorce and discovered the red pill in an article on Return of Kings and did some research and red pilled myself. Wasn't like an immediate thing though. Like it took me 2 or 3 years of research myself, to figure out where I stood on it. And because I've always been like a natural born skeptic, and I decided that if I was going to make a decision, then I would need to make an informed one. So I started doing research, and the more research I did, the more data I got that not only supported the red pill community, what they were saying, that it was so impossible to deny that it was just amazing to me that other people couldn't see it. And I suppose everybody else knows this as red pill rage. And, I raged for months. And the thing about rage is it has its place, but its place is definitely not everyday life. And eventually it subsided, and I found mgtow, and now I'm here. Excuse me. Today I'm going to talk about some of the common things I hear when I make my case for mgtow. Like, nauseatingly common, to the point where I've dealt with these arguments so much, I don't even have to look up from my dinner to destroy them. I don't even have to pause my game to destroy them. I can destroy them in mid-throw playing disc golf while not even messing up my throw. I'm giving you this information not to give you pages of my playbook, but so that you can see the ease that these arguments can be destroyed and you stop making them. So here's the first one. It's what I call the go-to move. And it is, not all women are like that. Okay, well, there's a lot of ways we can demolish this argument. There's the diplomatic way, and then there's what I call the shock and awe argument. So we'll start with the diplomatic one because that's the best place to start usually. It's just a simple question, and that question is, what external factors out there right now are preventing any given wife from going to any given courthouse at any given time and cleaning out her husband? And you have to word it almost exactly that way. You make sure you use the words external factors. And the reason why I say that is because I guarantee you the first response you're going to get is, well, because I love him and I'd never do that to him, which is internal, not external. They may say the family courts themselves will stop them, to which you can point out over half of marriages end in divorce, 70% of divorces are initiated by women, and over 80% of divorce rulings favor women. And then ask the same question again. What external factors are stopping you at any given time from going to court and cleaning your husband out? They won't be able to give you an answer because there's nothing stopping them. Not all women will, but every single one of you can. And that's a Karen Strong quote, by the way, it was a gem. So that's my shout out to you, Karen Strong. Now, the shock and awe argument is to wait and say nothing. If she says not all women are like that, full stop, all you have to do is say, elaborate. Because they can almost guarantee you that if there's not a full stop there, the next sentence is going to be some form of, well, I'm not like that, or I know in my marriage, blah, 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 blah. Now, what they've done there is essentially made the argument that most mgtow make to say, for the reason why we don't mess with modern Western women. Their egregious narcissism and solipsism that's becoming all too common. What she did there was she turned an objective critique of women in general into a personal attack on her. To which you answer, when did this become about you? There's 3.5 billion women on this earth, and you think I'm talking about you. What if I assumed every time you said anything about men that you were talking about me? Would you defend my position, or would you wonder how I could eat when I'm so full of myself? Would you wonder how I reconcile time with the belief that the universe revolves around me? You know, it's a double standard. The next one I hear is some form of you're just bitter slash salty slash cynical slash hurt or whatever because you've been burned too many times. Okay, maybe. But I think you need to ask yourself, isn't the fact that you have to default to that argument an indicator of the truth in my argument? Isn't the ease at which a person can be burned the very reason I'm making my argument in the first place? If you're making that argument, you're stating essentially that it's relatively commonplace for men to get burned, and it's commonplace enough where that's your default argument when you hear a man complaining about women. That's your default. Is you default to you've been burned too many times. Well, the fact that you default to me being burned too many times is essentially my argument. You're countering my argument with my argument. I mean, if you can't argue better than I know you are, but what am I? Why am I even bothering arguing with you? That's essentially the gist of that. The next one is basement-dwelling losers who can't get laid, chronic masturbators, jerking off into tube socks, blah, 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 blah. And my phone had to naturally go off. Anyway, this is literally nothing more than an attempt to try to make you feel ashamed for your position. And when somebody has to resort to trying to make you feel ashamed and have to resort to ad hominems to justify their position, all they're doing is conceding that they have no reasonable response to your argument. And they're attempting to exploit your emotional brain to make you respond irrationally. What you need to do in this point is take notes from Bill Burr. Stay in the pocket of the argument. Don't take offense when they start talking about me, because when they say these things, because they're not talking about me. I'm not a TFL, okay? The difference is a TFL, true force loneliness. If a woman came up to them and wanted to be in a relationship, they'd jump on it head first without hesitation. It's not a matter of choice. It's a matter of lack of options, okay? Myself, I don't have the lack of options. I made the choice. I made the choice to be extremely leery of who I chose to let into my personal space, based entirely on nothing more than the probability of success versus the probability of failure versus the risk and the reward. That's it. That's it. And frankly, most of the time, the risk outweighs the reward. That's it. Has nothing to do with any particular woman in general. It has everything to do with the probability of failure. And if the marriage, relationship, whatever fails, I'm the only one that stands to lose. It's math. Math. Nothing more. And last, but certainly not least, my personal favorite, you must just hate women. That was me giving the mgtow out there a second to stop groaning, laughing, and or rolling their eyes. And now I'm going to say something that's not very popular among either the mgtow community or the blue pill community. I agree. There are some of us in the mgtow community that are a little bit extreme. These are usually the men that you speak of that have been burned a few too many times in court. Excuse me. Maybe they've been mauled by a family court for a good chunk of their future earnings potential. Maybe their ex-wife lied to them about being on the birth control pill, got pregnant, and forced him into a fatherhood role that he had numerous times said he's not emotionally or physically ready for. Maybe he was being abused by his wife, and his wife called the cops and had him put in jail. It could be anything. And I think we need to understand that. you know, you don't walk into a domestic violence shelter for women and berate those women that talk shit on men as man haters and crazy cat ladies. Of course you don't. You understand that their grief, what they're saying is coming from a place of trauma and grief because of what they've been through. It's a coping mechanism. We can't control how these people cope with their grief. We can't. And it's not up to us. We have no business dictating to either of these people how they process their grief. Now, as the person raging, you're not off the hook either. You need to keep in mind that this is a process. And like every process, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It becomes a problem when you forget the last part of that sentence. But these people don't need shame. They don't need hate. They don't need to be berated. They need help. They need to see the forest through the trees. They need to be listened to, not agreed with. You don't have to agree with them, but they do need to be listened to. All they want is to be heard out. And you can tell them flat out while you're listening to them, I don't agree with you, but I will let you speak because you need to get this shit out. You need to get this anger out of you. Get it out. Rage it the fuck out. And so you can move on with your fucking life. Right? Now, they do need to be heard out. So I won't defend what these men say. I won't condone what these men say. But I'm not going to condemn them. Only because I think it would be immoral of me to try to play grief police. So in conclusion, wrapping up, those are the most common dog whistle arguments that we hear, and that's why they're shit. I'm going to leave the comments open because I need to make it clear that I don't speak for every mgtow on earth. I only speak for myself. And unlike the feminists out there, I leave my comment thread open and I don't give a shit what you have to say. If you feel the need to say it, go ahead and say it. And I'll answer as best I can when I can. But I do ask that if you're going to red pill rage in my comment thread, I ask that you reconsider and take that shit and turn it into a fucking hobby. Not because I'm grief policing you, but because it would probably be a lot more constructive for your life to do so. But I do welcome all reasonable points of view, and I look forward to hearing from you in my comment bar. I appreciate your time, and you'll be hearing from me periodically. Oh, and by the way, the name is pronounced Grundel, not Grundle. Get your mind out of the gutter. Thanks, humans. Later.